Good evening, everybody. We're back after a one-day hiatus to another edition of Brian Plays, where we'll be continuing The Legend of Zelda for the NES. Now, this is my first real adventure game that's going to take a while to beat. So, if you're playing along or if you want to learn more about the game, I highly recommend going back to my last video. Last time we played, we got started with the powering up of our character, and it's a crucial point in the game that you can complete at your own leisure, but it's best to do it in the beginning. So we got a lot of things out of the way. We acquired bombs, we had a boomerang, we bought arrows, we got the blue candle potion. We also have the white sword and the blue ring to double our sword attack and to half the damage taken away from us. And we also upgraded our shield. And we got 4 heart containers out of the 13. And we have 7 total hearts now. So, after defeating dungeon number 1 and beating Aquamentus, we can now go to dungeon number 2. And because we did all that item collecting last time, there's nothing really, anything additional that we need to do. So, let's get back to the first screen of the game. I'm going to unequip my bombs because I have a bad habit of hitting the wrong buttons. So last time I did mention a lot about the history of the game. And as I said last time, this was really one of the first complete adventure games that was out. It wasn't just a text-based game that you'd see on older systems. It wasn't an archaic game that you'd find on the Atari or ColecoVision. This was the real deal, and it was new territory for the game designer. And Shigeru Miyamoto, he was afraid while making the game that players might become bored, because there never really was a game where you had to stop and think what to do next. You would just proceed with the action. I mean, that was kind of unheard of back then, and he was afraid that once gamers got bored, they would just turn the game off and go outside and play something else. But fortunately for him, gamers love the game. Alright, so this is the screen where we start off in. So, now we're gonna go on our quest to the second dungeon. So, we're gonna go right again, but we're gonna keep going. And clearly, people love this style of play because the game sold 6.5 million copies. And it was the first NES game to cross the 1 million threshold. See, now if you kill a guy while he's inside the bushes, you might have trouble getting the item. So yesterday I wasn't on because it was the 4th of July, and I hope everybody had a happy and safe holiday. I usually do not allude to any of the holidays because by the time I post these on YouTube, the date will not be 4th of July. But I couldn't play yesterday because there was fireworks going off all by my window until like 4 in the morning, so that wouldn't have been fun to try to compete with that sound. And you can already see the benefit of the blue ring. I can take some hits and not even lose a heart. And because of that, I can keep the sword projectile. So basically just keep following this path. I like to kill the enemies now because I'm powered up and because I really want to collect more money. Alright, so going up these stairs will reveal the second dungeon. Now, this is the Moon Dungeon. So, we're gonna head north first. We need to find some items, like the compass and the dungeon map. These enemies are called ropes. They'll charge you once they see you. And I know it's a weird name for a snake, but that's what it's called. And you have to fight more ropes too. They're fairly easy and they leave a lot of items behind. After that, we can head back. And head to the right. Now, a few options here, but we want to get to the door that's locked on the right. And we got those gel monsters, which look like Hershey Kisses. Alright, so now we got the compass. So now we know that the Triforce piece is way north in the dungeon. Because you see a little flashing light under the Ian level. Now, you can also blow up this wall. It's a shortcut. Will save us having to use a key, but it really doesn't matter. And now you see why they call this the Moon Dungeon, based on the shape in the top left corner. I'll show you what was in the other room anyways, because you have an enemy called the Garaya. If you kill one of these Garaya, when you kill them, all of them actually die. But I guess I got the last one. But you can also blow up this wall too. I mean, there's no indication that you could, it's just trial and error. So now, you get the blue version of the Garaya. They're a lot more difficult. Like, I think every blue palette of an enemy is the more difficult one. You gotta watch out because of these walls, these statues on the corner. When you kill them, you get the blue Boomerang, which, as you see, replaces the regular Boomerang that you got. And basically, the magical Boomerang extends across the whole screen, so it's a lot more useful. Once again, you can keep on bombing the walls. So we're kind of skipping a lot of rooms now. And for using the bombs, you get more as a reward. Now, we can also go through here if you want to see what we missed. For this enemy, you just gotta keep attacking. This is a Moldorm. If you go down, you get to see the other room that I skipped. Alright, but we can head back now. And we can blow this up. This is the dungeon when you find out that you can blow up the walls. I know there was one in the first dungeon, but since so many walls blow up, when you get to other dungeons, it's just natural to just start bombing every side. These guys will give you hints. Now if you bomb the wall on the right, you can also find the old man again. So this is the Dongo. What you have to do is bomb him. And it's pretty easy once you have the white sword. course, there's another Dodongo boss in Ocarina of Time. Of course, he's a lot bigger, and it's a 3D game. No, I just want to see, before I get that shard, that will transform me back to the outside of the dungeon. I just want to see something. Alright. I just wanted to get some more rupees. But this dungeon is probably easier than the first dungeon, because now you become acclimated to the game. It doesn't matter too, because once you get the Triforce shard, you will get full health too. Alright. And that's that for the second dungeon. Alright, so that's 2 dungeons down. What I like to do is always get back to square one, which is the first screen of the game. So I believe this game gives you a greater sense of accomplishment than Mario. And I think that's why this game was the first $1 million seller. And like I said in the last video, if you ever go into a hard screen, you can always leave one enemy left. And what that will do is leave that one enemy for the next time you go onto the screen. Because if you kill all the enemies like I just did, and I return back to this screen, they will all respawn. And that might be too overwhelming. Like a lot of Zelda games, the further you get into the game, the more powerful you get. And in most cases, the easier it gets. Like, there's nothing harder than being at the early stage of a Zelda game and having just 3 hearts to work with. It doesn't mean that future dungeons will be hard. There'll be a lot of difficult dungeons. But in the overworld, we should be fine now. in terms of Zelda games, which ones are your favorite? I know there's many games to choose from. Clearly, this one is not my favorite Zelda game, and that's because there are other games that just took all of these formulas and improved on them, and that's like A Link to the Past. It's basically this game, only an upgraded version of it. So if you like this game more than A Link to the Past, then it's probably because this is the first game you ever played and it just has a higher nostalgic value. But a lot of people feel that A Link to the Past is one of the best Zelda games, especially the overhead 2D versions. A lot of people praise Ocarina of Time as being one of the greatest games of all time. And I really like Ocarina of Time. That might be my favorite Zelda game. But some people like Wind Waker too, because of the exploring factor and the cel-shaded graphics. And other people like Breath of the Wild because of the expansive overworld. So, you know, you have a lot of choices among Zelda games. Alright, so now that we're back on the main screen, once again, there's really nothing that we need to collect. So we're just gonna go to the third dungeon. And it's not too far from this screen, so this is the path I'm gonna take. And of course I'm gonna play the other Zelda games one day. But I wanted to start with the original. I would love to do Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But we'll see. I mean, I do have them on the 64. So I could get out the 64 and play. They are available on the Virtual Console. I'm hoping that they become available for the Switch. But we'll see. But I think Majora's Mask would be pretty interesting to play on a live stream. And when I play a Zelda game too, I'm a completionist. I will get everything and show you how to get everything. That'll be fun. And with the element of 3 days, you know, there'll be a lot of pressure to play well, especially with an audience. So I would look forward to doing that one day. The other reason I'm killing enemies, like I said, is I want to get more rupees. But we're in pretty good shape. And this is the third dungeon. A lot of people that play this game, they tend to find this dungeon first. And it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You can do the dungeons out of order. And there are actually people that will beat the game with just 3 hearts as a challenge, or they'll beat the game without a sword. Or the furthest they can get, I think, is the final boss. But this game opened the doors for a lot of alternative routes and different challenges for game players to achieve. Now, this dungeon is known as the Mangy Dungeon. The Mangy is the like a creature in Japanese culture or folklore. Now this dungeon won't be as easy as the first two. These enemies are kind of like the gels, but they're called Zol. Now, because I have the white sword, when I defeat the Zol, it just takes one hit. If I had the wooden sword, it would split the enemy up into the gel enemies. So, you know, that is why I made you get the upgraded items as early as possible, because it would defeat the purpose if we got them, say, towards the middle of the game, and especially towards the end. Alright, so when we go up here, we discover a new enemy. These are called Dark Nuts. They have a shield, so you're gonna have to hit them in the back or on the side like that. So now if you don't have the long range, it will be a lot harder because you gotta get in tight on them. But you want to try to walk up to them from their side rather than straight on. Now, we could blow this wall up, but we still need other items. So, we're gonna go left. So that item we got was the compass. Yeah, but we want to keep going left. You can trigger these guys and go back. And now you have more Dark Nuts to contend with. Remember, you want to hit them from the side or the back. You can also plant a bomb if there's multiples around. Like that. And you don't want to get too careless when fighting these guys, because you always want to be a heart away from getting full health again. Now if we go up, we can get a key, but we don't have to. When you defeat those enemies, you can go down the screen, but watch out, because there's a lot of Dark Nuts here. You can plant a bomb if you like. See, if you get bombs back, you're in good shape. And this item pretty much does them in. See, and you get more bombs anyway, so. So the special item for this dungeon is the Raft. Now you can travel across the water when you have a space, one space length, and in other areas. can see it in your item screen on the top. Alright, there's some more Zols here. Look at all these locked doors. So you have a lot of options to choose from. We still need to get the dungeon map. Now, if you go up, usually when there's 2 blocks, you gotta figure out what can be pushed and how. And of course we did. Now, that was an optional, but I want you to see the old man. And you get another key here. It was unnecessary though, because we have a lot of keys. And keys themselves don't really leave any items. So, basically we went here for completionist sakes. Just to show you where the old man's secret was. Or the hint that he provides. So we're gonna go back to the room where we had those 3 Zols. We're gonna go right, because that's the way towards Triforce. Now that we got the dungeon, if you noticed, this dungeon's called the Mangy because of the shape, but it also looks like a swastika. So, not too many people were thrilled when they saw that. Now, we could blow up this wall here to get to the boss. We can also go down as well. If you get hit by those enemies, you will lose the ability to use your sword for a while. And those enemies are called bubbles, by the way. You've seen them in other games as well for Zelda. And you can't defeat them. So now we're in the boss room already. I forgot that was the boss room. And the enemy is Manhandla. So you can use bombs and sword attacks. Since we can hit from a distance, well now we can't. I was going to use the sword attack, but then switch to your bombs. He gets faster and faster, so it does get hard. But you don't have the wooden sword anymore, so there you go. And that's pretty much the entire room. There was other locked doors, but they just let some more keys. And they didn't have anything that we needed, since we already got the raft now. And I believe getting a Triforce gives you money too. I just noticed my rupee count went up. So, now look at all the hearts that we have. 9. So we're getting a lot more powerful. Now, what we're going to do now is go back to the beginning of the game, which isn't too far away. Sometimes the biggest challenge in this game is figuring out where the dungeons are. Now the first 3 are pretty easy to find. You'll come across at least one of the 3 early on. Alright, and now we're back at the beginning of the game. I can make a save state here. So I'm going to have to shut it off anyways when I quit for the night. And I had some fluke things happen, like the game reset or shut off. So, now that we have the raft, we can do a couple of things. We can also get to the next dungeon. But we can also get a heart container. So what we want to do is travel to the coastline. And we did this in the beginning of the game too, on our quest to get the bombs. So what we're going to do is just continue going right until you reach the coastline, all the way on the east. We're almost maxed out on money now, too. Alright, so now that we reached the coastline, we want to travel north. And you'll see a dock. I just want to see what they sell here. No. These are all things that we have. I never really showed you the arrow if you want to see. There's the arrow. And every time you shoot it, it takes away a rupee. You can try to get the the River Zora. And it's a good item to have. Especially when you have a lot of money. Now, obviously with this dock here, you can walk across with the raft automatically. Or, I thought you could. Hold on. Maybe I need the boomerang. Unless I can't get this yet. I mean, might need something else. I don't know, I played so many Zelda games that I forget what certain things do. I thought I could just walk across. I think I need another item for that. Maybe a ladder or whatnot. Here's the dock that I can go on. And no, it's not a dungeon, but it's a chance to get a heart container. Alright. So now we're going to be on the path to the 4th dungeon. So we want to go back across the dock. Go left. Let me see what's in here. Nothing. This place looks familiar. It's outside the 1st dungeon. Obviously, we need to be near a body of water. And here we go. That's a pea hat. It's best just to ignore them. Alright, so this is the Snake Dungeon. So we want to start off by going to the left. And there are keys here. What's a Zelda game without bats? So once you get the key, you can go back right and then up. Now these enemies are called Vires. They basically just hop around the room. The red keys are no different than the blue ones. So with that key that we got, now we still have keys from the other dungeons that are carried over, by the way. This room is dark, so we're gonna use the candle for the first time inside of a dungeon. See? You just gotta be patient when there's a lot of enemies. You don't want to rush them because they can start to swarm you. Now, this guy is very annoying. Now, I did get the compass, so you can see that the Triforce is on the northeast section of the dungeon. So we go back now, and we head north. And you can avoid these guys. This is a fairly easy room as well. I like to kill all the enemies because I don't remember all the time if an item appears if you kill them all. No. So there's going to be a lot of dark rooms in this dungeon. And in the dungeons for the most part from now on. So, you know, this is straightforward. You just keep following the path. And keep lighting the room. You can use it as a weapon. The blue candle. Alright. I remember this now. We're gonna get an item here that allows us to go over to one space of water. That's what I was talking about earlier with that heart piece by the dock. So we're going to use one of our keys. Once again, we can kill these enemies from a distance since we're full health. This room will be a lot more easier to traverse with our new item. We don't have to go in this room up there. It's an unnecessary room. Alright, these enemies are dangerous. They are called likes. You don't want to get hit by the bubbles too, because then you can't use your sword. But in that case, you can just use a weapon. Alright. Let me tell you about likes. They're slow, but they can gobble you up. And if they swallow you, they just waste more times, and they can eat your shield. You don't want that to happen, trust me. Alright. So we move this block. we have the stairwell that leads to this dungeon's special item. Yeah, I always thought you can use the raft to move one space over. I forgot. That's basically, I think the instruction manual calls it a step ladder. It allows you to step over like one tile length of water. So we want to go to that little water bridge. And you can use the item here now. See? I'd like to just skip these guys. Alright. Remember, when you go back into a dark room, you have to relight it again. So what I'm going to do is run up here and open this door. And we can avoid these, go right, and finally find the dungeon map. So you can only get across if it's one tile length across. Now, let me show you something. I could bomb this wall. I'll show you what's there. A rupee room, but we really have no use for rupees right now. So, you know, we're all maxed out. There's no wallet like in other Zelda games. There's also secrets, walls in that rupee room as well. But, we don't have to do that. I'd rather show you the right way to get through, or the traditional path. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Now we could have bombed this wall to get back into that rupee room again. Alright, here's the old man. Walk into the waterfall. What does it mean? You'll find out later. Or next live stream. So now we're gonna go to the right. And once again, we gotta light the screen. These enemies won't give you anything. See? So, you know, you can just move across. Now, obviously, you can blow the wall to the south to get back to that rupee room. But we really have no business there. Alright, now we have some more vires. This time we might have to get close. And you hear that noise? I forgot to mention that last dungeon. That's the boss That's how you know you're getting close to the boss. This is a case where you have to kill these enemies, I believe. Alright, so when we go into the next room, we're going to see the next boss. I'd rather talk about it before I get to it. It's a two-headed dragon named Gliock. And basically he shoots fireballs towards you. And you cannot block them. So you just want to get in close and slash. And you basically want to defeat the heads. So, you know, there's a few things I can do. Maybe I can use some arrows. Alright. And there he is. It's a great design. Well, arrows do not work, so. You can slash and run, whatever you feel more comfortable doing. We have plenty of health, though. So, there's really no need to worry. And once the head gets loose, it becomes another thing you have to avoid. Alright. Remember, you don't have to be afraid to get in there, especially when you have all these heart containers. So now we have yet another heart. I believe that's 11 now. And now we can get the 4th shard of the Triforce of Wisdom. Alright, so we're in really good shape now. You can see the Triforce is filling up. Now, the next thing I will do is get back to the starting point. And it's really not far. And because we got the step ladder, we can do a few things. And we're already close to the beginning. So this is a very convenient place to be. And here's where we are. So next time we play, we're going to check out some unique areas, such as the graveyard. We're going to try to get the magical sword. Some heart containers, a power bracelet. So it's basically like we did in the beginning, where we gathered a lot of items. Well, we're going to prepare ourselves again for the final, I guess, dungeons of the game. So the game's gonna get a lot more difficult, but you know, I'm gonna help you get through it. So I think we'll leave it here, and I'm glad you could join me, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great night, and I will see you soon.